Hello and welcome to our third session, where we're going to talk about the culture of consumption, food and waste, with our fellows from our Artivism and Amplifier Fellowship. So thank you for being here. Welcome. Welcome to all people who are watching us live and those who will watch this afterwards. It's going to be in our YouTube channel. Today we have amazing people with us, activists and participants of the fellowship. So thank you for being here. I will let you introduce yourselves, and then I will introduce a little bit about the fellowship and what that resulted in. Okay, so if you want, you can start, Rachel.
Sure. I'm Rachel. I'm from the US, in the Washington, D.C. area, the capital. I'm a student studying food systems and sustainability, so I really joined to connect with people that have more established careers in activism than me, and I've been able to meet so many amazing people all around the world.
Awesome. Who do you pass it to?
Well, I worked with Carmen and Nyla, so maybe Carmen wants to introduce herself.
Yes, of course. Hi, everyone. I'm Carmen. I am based in Guatemala. My background is in product design and graphic design. And I think that the fellowship for me was a great experience to explore more like my own voice regarding climate change and sustainability issues. So yeah, it was a great experience. And now I pass it on to Naila.
Hi. I think my internet's a little bit slow. I hope you can hear me. I'm Naila Pariamachi from Lima, Peru. I joined this fellowship because I'm an artist, but I'm as well an activist. So I wanted to try to find this space where there are much more people like that has a similar interest and this similar focus. So yeah, so I pass to Celio.
Sure, if Celio is having some internet problems, maybe. Muyawase, you can maybe go instead of him.
Hi everyone, my name is Chanel Nizawase. I'm from Rwanda. I am an activist, but I also work with communities of farmers in the rural areas of Rwanda. So they inspired me a lot to want to collaborate with other people involved in climate issues, in climate justice around the world. And yeah, I'm happy to be here.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Who do you pass it to?
I'll pass to Rosalie.
Hi everyone, my name is Roslyn Wakaba. I'm from Nairobi, Kenya. I have a background in urban and regional planning. I am delighted to be here to learn, and I do a lot of lighting. So I'm grateful that I get to see the artistry part of people involved around climate change.
Thank you, Rosalie. Celio's back, so if you want, go ahead.
First of all, can you guys hear me?
A little bit far away, but yeah.
Oh my God. Wait. Maybe I can now. What about now?
Perfect.
Is it better?
Yes.
Okay, I'm so sorry. Internet here is a mess and it's raining, so it's worse. But anyway, that's not a good way to start my introduction. Hello everybody. My name is Stelio Monteiro Jose. I'm from Mozambique and I'm studying forest engineering. I'm a climate activist. I am working a lot with empowering youth, engaging youth in the fight for climate change, and this fellowship was an amazing opportunity. So thank you.
Awesome. Thank you. Well, now I'll introduce myself. My name is Álvaro Valencia. I am from Colombia. I am program coordinator at Human Impact Institute, and I have been working with the group that is here with us today, along with 24, 26 more fellows from all over the world, from the global north and the global south. And for those who are wondering what was this fellowship about, well, it had the objective of to further develop skills in creating effective and powerful partnerships, in engaging communities in an effective way, creating storytelling, like creating a very creative storytelling for climate action. And all these sessions with experts and exchange opportunities resulted in some like really, really interesting projects in which you guys started using creative communications for climate action in different ways, right? Today, our topic is very specific on the culture of consumption, but the projects were very diverse. So I would love for you to tell us a little bit more about, or tell us a little bit about what were your projects about and what inspired you to create those projects. Okay. Anyone wants to start?
I'll go.
Excellent.
Yeah, I think I mentioned a little bit on working with communities of farmers in rural areas. Obviously, we've all seen the different challenges that brought on by the changes in climate, and I guess it's by this point it's a well-known truth that the most vulnerable people do not even contribute as much to the changes, but they're still vulnerable. Like farmers have experienced a lot. And as an artist, an activist, I wanna be your like upcoming storyteller. I joined this project to learn more on the storytelling. I would say different sessions we've had have supported me and our group in our project. So with our group, I joined the social media group, and obviously it came with its own challenges. We were working on developing content, be it educational or transformative on waste. And as you all know, there's so many things that intersect within waste. So it was interesting to have to find an angle to go to, but thankfully, because of communication, teamwork, despite challenges of time zone, we were able to put out interesting, informative, and entertaining content that was educational. So for this project, especially our audience was anyone really, but more specifically to the basic level of an individual, what changes can one make? We used infographics with images to show steps. And I can say the support we got from the session helped a lot in understanding how to bring out that storytelling or that content. I'm sorry if I took long, but that was our project and the inspiration behind it for me personally. Every individual from our group had different inspirations, and we're all able to come together to give out what's happening in our own communities, but also in our own region. And it was really, really educational. I loved the collaboration. Yes.
Thank you so much, Musawasi. Yeah, I think it's also very important to tell our audiences right now that are watching that our creative communication projects could entail basically any kind of creative expression, right? So we had artistic expressions, video, short films, social media campaigns, and I don't know if Rachel or Nai, Carmen, which were all together in one group, could maybe tell us what were yours about.
Yeah, I can talk a little bit about ours. We did kind of a multimedia installation, and I think we'll all need to talk about our section because we all did kind of different things, but they did come together under the lens of kind of having these waste solutions, but through the lens of Indigenous visibility and kind of basing those waste solutions off of traditional ecological knowledge. And like Musawase said, I think we tried to do, or at least me personally, I tried to do it and in speaking to the audience, kind of individual solutions that just people going to the installation and seeing the art felt like that, even if they're not an artist or even if they do some art, but kind of casually, that's something that they could implement in their life. Because I use plastic in my art, and that's not, the main thing I do. But that was really my intention with the project. And I think all of ours kind of came together in a way to bring those individual solutions into a more cohesive conversation on consumption and waste. But what do you think, Carmen and Nyla?
If I could add to that, I think that something that I really enjoy about our project is like we were definitely able to explore what interests us creatively. So we had also like some drawings and paintings and some photographs from another of our teammates who isn't here today. But it was really nice to be able to see like how all these kind of fit together in a very cohesive narrative that at the end of the day was trying to bring this path of how waste is created, kind of understanding that extractive practices create waste to deliver consumption to other areas in the world. So we were really trying to highlight, I would say in a very artistic way, that tension that happens between like the consumption patterns. And the part that I added to the project particularly was building biocomposites and bioceramics, which is pretty much like small structures out of waste. So I made like small totems that were meant to be like a different way of people to see what waste can become, and kind of in a way kind of delete this idea of waste by acknowledging that there's always possibilities for any material to be reinserted into a cycle. So yeah, I think that was very interesting, and it's also like understanding and kind of bringing that visibility to a big problem that we have, which is waste management, particularly with biological materials, which is mainly what I use for the project. Naila?
Yeah, on my side, like you already say like a lot about our project, but yeah, I wanted to make an emphasis on how different were our pieces, but still they kind of complement each other on this kind of cycle we have. When it comes to extracting furniture, then the photographs that Juliana make about the communities that are being affected, then the totems, then the little knitted, I don't know how to say it in English, but the one from Rachel. So yeah, I think that I as well learn a lot from you, because I know that I have a specific focus more on nature, but I as well learn a lot from you that has this different focus, and as well in the way you're trying to make your own narrative of how to share this story. So yeah, it was really a meaningful experience, and I'm really happy about the final outputs we had in the exhibition.
Great. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Naila is mentioning an exhibition, which is where all of the projects from the fellowship are exhibited in New York in Dumbo, in 38 Washington Street. So I encourage all our viewers to go and actually see what our fellows are talking about in these sessions. Rosaline, you want to go?
Yeah, sure. I was part of group 5 where we were doing the video installation project, and we didn't come up with one idea really. That was a big challenge because we all come from different backgrounds, and coming with something that we relate to being together was very hard. So everybody did their own video, but in one way or the other, we had like common grounds like timings and stuff like that. And I chose to do food security. And the theme to my video was nourishing food, our tomorrow. In Kenya right now, we are 1 week away from the floods that we've been experiencing. And I wish we could go back to where we were like 10 years ago in terms of we had normal seasons, we had normal food. And when I think of sustainability, like where are we headed? Can we be able to manage our future populations in Africa or in Kenya, particularly when it comes to food production? Where are we going to be, considering we have very unpredictable weather conditions? We have a lot of hiking in prices for food, and a lot of people are starving, the marginalized and the vulnerable communities. I don't know where we are headed. So when I'm making my video, I'm thinking it all comes from the small things that we do. It can be maybe you're just peacefully building a house, but then you did interfere with the ecosystem at that place. You cut down trees, you did eradicate the vegetation and stuff like that. So I was hoping to interact with people who at a small scale can be able to mitigate their actions towards ecosystem protection and ensuring there's gonna be good food security. Yeah.
Thank you, Rosaline. Celio, you want to go for it? Explain us a little bit. Oh, you just joined. We're talking about our projects and explaining a little bit what were our projects about. What inspired you also to take that focus?
I'm so sorry, I keep getting kicked out of the meeting. But my project, well, our project was a video poetry project. And we talked about how frontline communities are facing and coming together to face and resist to climate change. We did the poetry and we did interview with 2 women from frontline community. One here in Mozambique, a small food producer, and an indigenous woman in the UK. And what made us work on this project was really trying to understand how these communities are coming together to face climate change and what they're doing to froze. Wait. Can you guys hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay. So what we wanted to do is to show to people that actions around the world are affecting people, like actions that are made in America or in the UK actually are affecting people here in Africa. So we wanted to show people that it's important for us to be aware of what we're doing because there is a consequence for it. So yeah.
Awesome, thank you. Really, really great short film, by the way. I hope everyone is able to go and see it. And if you're not in New York, well, we will make our best to make it public as well. So thank you, Celio. And thank you all of you for sharing your projects. They are super, super interesting. I need to mention also that Muisawase, who made the social media campaign, has collaborated with 2 persons that were not able to be with us today because of the floodings in Rio Grande do Sul. So our best thoughts with them and all the strength in this really delicate situation that Brazil is going through. So just a moment to acknowledge that. Okay, so maybe now we can delve a little bit more into the consumption, the culture of consumption subject that is bringing us together today. I would like to start off with a question regarding how does our current culture of consumption contribute to environmental degradation and climate change? I think this is the easy question. The hard question is which kind of consumption doesn't actually contribute to this. But I would love to hear your answers. How do you believe the current culture of consumption contributes to environmental degradation and climate change? Someone want to start?
I can start. I think that I did mention some bits about this consumption part and degradation. I think that the main thing that I would like to add is that it's kind of going to what you said, the hard question. Is there any type of consumption that doesn't? And I think that if you think about like nature and you do get inspired in nature, there's a lot of like processes that are natural that kind of respect the limits of the planet and do respond to that capacity that the earth has to regenerate itself. Obviously, getting there, it might be very idealistic, but I think that when you question consumption, it's like how close to that you can actually get to be able to actually say consumption is not damaging our territories, our planet, and our people.
Yeah. Does anyone want to compliment Carmen's answer?
Yeah, I like what you say about being able to have a consumption that isn't necessarily degradative. I think that there are systems like that in place, agricultural systems and business systems and these systems of trade and exchange that are, I mean, if you think of just consumption as consuming resources and not necessarily within a capitalistic structure, I think the issue and the difficulty with that is that they run contrary to the capitalistic structure. So it's always going to be a struggle to support that. But if we are talking about like individual methods of consumption, you know, it really is the smaller organizations, the buy nothing and the local farmers that, I mean, it is consumption, but it isn't necessarily degradative because the main, you know, easy way of consumption we have, I think that's the way that corporations that cause climate change really extract support from the public. I mean, a lot of their power is based in that support that they get from us day in, day out, because it just seems that there is no other option. And to an extent, there's not really another option, but I think to an extent, there also are some other options to make smaller changes. But I always like to hear about what changes people are able to make, because, you know, to see what I can do. I've learned a lot, especially just in this session, about things that other people do to source things that I would never have thought of that I just buy at some big store, Amazon or whatever.
Mhm. Great. Does anyone have something else to share with? That we can start because you're mentioning and well, throughout the fellowship we have explored the role of creative communications, of art itself, to raise awareness. How do you think art and creativity can be used to raise awareness about food waste, to encourage sustainable consumption? I believe that you're mentioning very important subjects and how individual actions can change the overall picture. And do you believe art and creativity play a role, a significant role? If so, how? Maybe we can start off with Naila.
Yes, actually our project itself talk a lot about how creativity can how we can portray this issue and perhaps bring. I think the arts and creativity, it has like a lot of ways to how to get involved with this. For example, bringing the conversations into the table, bringing people to just, I mean, through the art, I will say that they have this kind of space to reflect on what they think the pieces are. But at the end of the day, they also reflect on the issues that are being portrayed in the pieces. So I will say that arts and creativity has such a powerful way to touch people. I will say, I will hope so, and to try to tell the stories. And in particular, our project that was most about how is this process of consumerism, how we extract resources, how this ends in landfill, and the alternatives that Rachel also portrayed with their pieces, but as well Carmen. So yeah, I think that it's such a powerful weapon to try to connect these spaces and try to bring people together and to try to discuss about it, or just to bring the conversation to the table. So yeah.
Yeah, like getting to people just to be conscious about it and start talking it, art being this medium to get this on the table and the debating, which is very, very important. Thank you, Naila. I totally agree. I don't know if someone thinks art also plays a role in a different way. Go ahead, Nisabas.
I wanted to give maybe I agree with what Laila and Rachel have both said, especially like it brings back to all we've learned throughout this fellowship, the sessions, the interactions with fellow artists. And I want to bring up the context of, in our region, for example, my country, Rwanda. As mentioned previously, I work with communities of farmers. When I was reflecting on this question, doing research of food waste, you would think that food waste is a Western concept. What do people who are struggling to find a meal have to waste anyway? But food waste relates really hard to our communities as well, like food security issues. We still have high records of food waste, and they come in different ways. Maybe it's things being ruined during production. So the way I see us using art and storytelling to support our communities is to bring attention to the issues that people are struggling with, to also educate our own communities on practices that reduce waste. For example, in agriculture, learning about regenerative methods or crop rotation. And these, when we put art together, and I'll give an example of what I've seen in a way that reaches the communities, the rural communities, is like the use of theater, for example. I know we worked on our projects on videos, which is a way we can use theater to do some educative plays that, again, encourage people. We've seen in some of the sessions, particularly, I remember learning storytelling using different styles, like ways we can frame our climate change stories in a way that is educative, relatable, likable, and brings people to our side, including our end communities, if we really want to educate them. So art, storytelling can play a huge role to reach any kind of audience, really. When we see different media we can use and take advantage of that, it can be effective. Again, maybe even, who knows, like if we're dreaming, influence policymakers and truly change things. Yeah.
I definitely agree that this can and is being used actually to influence a lot of policymakers and policy and decision makers. And this is a really like relevant way to do so because it's not so direct. And we have talked about this in previous sessions, how art, how these creative expressions go deep into our subconscious. So sometimes we don't even know how art is really affecting our decisions, which is super interesting and makes it a super powerful tool, right? So all your projects and the objects that you made, the films that you made, these are like, of course, have like a really literal meaning that goes to our like conscious mind, but there are some effects that we are not so easy to quantify to know how they are affecting, but they are surely affecting somehow. And I totally agree with Ms. Awase how powerful this tool is. And maybe we can maybe share a little bit of since Ms. Awase already mentions policy. I would like to maybe ask you, how can individuals or even in communities advocate for policy changes to address the culture of consumption? If this is relevant for you and if you feel that that changes can be done from the policy aspect, and how can we as individuals, besides of course art expressions, but not all of us are artists, how can we advocate for these policy changes? I'm sure if Rosaline, maybe.
Well, in my answer, what I had, I said, I don't think the problem in my country is advocating for policy changes, because we have all the policies that are from every level, national, county, local communities, but the problem comes with the implementation. And that is where we have maybe campaigns calling for the same missing arts and stuff like that. Everyone is in banners calling for implementation. So I think we have policies, all of them like written in books, but implementation is where we go wrong.
Thank you. Yeah. There's this gap between what we already have in place and what we can execute. Well, that's super hard. And
Yeah.
okay, so I think that there's also a really important role of art there, and expressing like which are those policies and how to actually implement them. Go ahead, Naila.
Yes, I had a specific example of how creative arts can influence policy. I was watching the sessions of COP last year, and they have these invited panelists that talk about a short film they make along with a community in South Africa, in which they portrayed how they believe like the connection with their ancestors and the sea. And it's something really beautiful. And they use this piece of information for the court proceedings in South Africa. And this short film allows the small fishers to defend against one big corporation there in South Africa that was affecting the sea. So yeah, I think that this arts and creative industry allows people as well to tell their stories. And I don't know how, in this specific case it was really successful. It was successful, and the art really has an impact. And yeah, I just wanted to share it.
Go ahead, Celio.
So I totally agree with what Rosalind said. Here in my country, we also have like beautiful, amazing policies about like agriculture, deforestation, like in every aspect of the country have like beautiful policies, but implementation is really hard and is key to see changes. But I also believe that art is a strong tool to make people come together and fight for the implementation of the policies or for better policies. I think art is a strong tool for that. I think art can engage and touch so many people, and then if these people come together, if we come together, I think that's the only way we can see changes.
Totally agree. Totally agree. And I believe that this also and connects with something Carmen was talking about, and it's about like giving waste to enter a different cycle, and to enter or be reinserted in a cycle, through art, but also there are many other ways, right? So I would love to explore a little bit those innovative solutions for reducing waste and promoting circular economies. What do you believe are those, if you know of some innovative solutions for waste reduction and the promotion of this circular economy? Have you?
I think that I have a couple of ideas here. I think that's something that is very important with circularity is to acknowledge that one of the baselines of circularity is like separating materials into two cycles. So you have like a technical cycle that is pretty much like man-made stuff. And then you have the biological cycle, which is nature itself. And there's some overlap there, but when you realize that you understand how for example, you won't be able to process the same like a piece of tomato, for example, or the way you process a computer. And I think that just that basic knowledge could be very powerful for people to actually start looking for solutions regarding circularity. Obviously, when you start like deep into the context of circularity, there's so many things. I think that one of the main things I've seen is particularly with technology. That's why I mentioned computers, like remanufacture and recycling itself, which is not like a top priority in circularity. I think that also breaking the idea of recycling being the solution is very important. But all these other aspects that happened before. But if I may add, like my favorite solution of circularity is actually upcycling, because I've seen so many people that instead of like going into, I don't know, making rags out of clothes, they turn it into something that is like a high quality new fabric. And obviously that high quality fabric has a more impactful role into society, into usefulness, into even like economic revenue than just a piece of rag, you know? So there's so many opportunities with upcycling out there that can be applied into pretty much anything. So yeah, I think that's a good one to explore.
Thank you, Carmen.
I'm big on upcycling as well myself, but I've come to realize pretty recently that in terms of creating circularity, I think really the only way to do that is to connect with the people around you about consumption and about your waste management practices, you know, really with your entire network, really talk about what you're buying and what you're throwing away, and just kind of put your heads together, and you can kind of create a circular economy right where you are. I was reading about when I was doing some thinking about this talk, I was reading about a company or an organization called Zeri that does that on or it's called Zeri, sorry, Zeri, that does that on like a corporate level and puts companies in touch with each other that have, you know, inputs and outputs that can kind of be matched up, and dividing that into technical and biological, as Carmen was saying, but they've actually been able to create circular economies in that way. And I've kind of just been trying to implement that in my personal life, because, you know, it's such a cliche, but you'd be surprised of what you throw away, that's what someone else is buying, you know?
Mhm. Definitely, and I believe that there are some tools for it, right? So either in even groups in Facebook, groups in like people that are connecting just to share the use of stuff, even clothes, and other kind of goods, which is super, super important and relevant that we start connecting more as a community. Thank you, Rachel.
If I could just add something on that, what you just mentioned about community and sharing, and yeah, it doesn't have to be complicated. I had the opportunity to study abroad, and I lived in Edinburgh for a while, and I remember that there was this group called Meadowshare. People used to just post everything for free in there, so anyone could join. And because it's a very studenty city, like a lot of people come and go, so it was a very easy way for students to have access to pretty much free stuff, and then for people to actually recirculate the things within the community. So yeah, it was very nice because it was very like autonomous, Facebook based, nothing fancy to make it. So I think that circularity is possible at many levels.
Thank you. Great. Awesome. I think it leads us to another question about the role of food systems and what does these food systems that are in place, how they play a role in climate crisis. How can we promote sustainable food practices? We have been talking a little bit about the consumption of goods more than food, and I would like for us to explore a bit more about food consumption, that kind of awareness, and how is this systems that are in place affecting climate change, and what are good sustainable food practices and how can we promote them. I don't know who wants to give it a go. Maybe Celio? Celio is having some issues with his connectivity.
I guess there's different ways to promote food, sustainable food practices. And again, one of the things I loved about this experience is that everyone is speaking from their own experiences. So it's interesting to hear people talk about upcycling, recycling, and I'll come back to farming. And I've seen that in those communities, good food practices can look like incorporating organic farming, using organic fertilizers, for example, or as I spoke about earlier, crop rotation practices. I want to speak of an example of something that has been implemented in my community. There's what we call kitchen gardens. They are quite famous in my community. Kitchen gardens are like backyard garden that every household has, or like they're encouraged to have, and they're often like pyramid shape. If you Google them, you'll see like different stories on that, and that space helps to use the sunlight effectively. So there's the kitchen gardens. Obviously, its main idea behind was to promote the use of like sustainability, but also fight malnutrition, because families are now doing small legumes or fruits in that garden in their backyard. And it came when I was thinking of this question again. We all know some of the good practices, food practices we may be more familiar with is composting. And a lot of people practice that even in different countries. And a way that I can find, like this is specific, I'm sorry, it's not, but again, it's on the subject of organic farming or using organic food, combining the composting and the kitchen garden, using kitchen scraps, all those dirt to do your compost, and then use the fertilizer from the compost to grow your kitchen garden. And I feel like both of them side by side would yield really effective or like impactful results in ensuring waste reduction and promoting good food practices. Yeah, that's the specific example I had for that question. Thank you.
Super interesting. Should definitely replicate that more. And those kitchen gardens, Ms. Owase, they are like, there are many across like your like the region, or are there just like a
Yes, there are many across the region. They're honestly amazing. They're designed for water efficiency, like in ways where we can use less water. Like families are growing vegetables in the household. Sometimes they can even, depending on the size of the kitchen garden, they may have enough to even sell on like the markets, like generating a small surplus income for their families and themselves. So it's really like winning on all sides. Yeah. But the compost is like would be a new addition. It's not something that's necessarily implemented in all the households, just the kitchen garden. Yeah.
anyone would like to add on this question, on the role of food systems and how they affect climate crisis, how we can promote sustainable food practices? I love this example of Ms. Owase, but I would love to hear some others from you guys. No. Rachel? Want to go?
I don't have as comprehensive and profound an example as Owase made, but yeah, I learned, I study this in school, different practices that can be a real game changer. I think on the US that mostly happens on the West Coast because local governments get more into the organic farming. And I think a big way to support that, it does kind of happen in like the social media culture, at least in the US, of supporting farms that use, rotational grazing, crop rotation, just encourage biodiversity in general and not so input intensive. But I think the issue with that, it does come back to policy again, because there really isn't, other companies end up capitalizing off of that support and manipulating consumers by putting different things on their labels that say that they do that and they don't.
Mhm.
So I think as much as supporting farmers to be able to implement those practices, supporting small farmers that want to do that if they had the means to, I think it's almost just as important as forcing the bigger farmers to do so, because they won't if they're not forced to by policy. So, but it always is very heartening to see that happening on the local levels, like we were discussing.
Definitely. This and these that you're saying, and along with what Musa was telling us about this community-based solution and nature and community-based solutions, reminds me of a very interesting fly, which is the black soldier fly, which like feeds from all the waste from these huge industries that are making this massive packaging of food, and they have a lot of wastes, and they are using this fly to eat up all this waste, which the residue is compost that can be used to fertilize different crops, and afterwards the flies are also can be used to feed cattle and chicken industry. So which is like a really interesting to this circular way to maximize the waste. And actually this is something that is a human invention, this idea of garbage. This is something that doesn't really exist in nature. So it's something that we invented. In nature, there is nothing, not such thing as waste or garbage. Everything is used and everything has a purpose. And I think this is something that has come up in some of the submissions of the Creative Climate Awards, which are where all the different projects are exhibited, which is the connection of nature and every single idea of engineering and solutions regarding different aspects to tackle the waste and a problem that is definitely affecting climate change. So I just wanted to add that one that I just remembered for. I don't know if you would like to add something regarding the food systems, either Rosalind, Carmen, Naila.
I would just second what Mwizawase said. I think in Africa we practice farming in us. It's just for subsistence use. So not most people are doing it large scale. So that is where we get like you have your small farm and you have you're breeding your chickens and your rabbits. So you're using the same manure from the chickens and the rabbit urine back into the farm. So it is like a loop and the waste is being utilized properly.
Excellent.
And I think that consumption links back, sorry, yeah, food links back to consumption. Like we have been, I don't know how to say, but we've been tricked to consume food as well, the same way we consume things. So it's like everything's branded, everything's in a package, everything is like very much like something that is not meant to nourish our bodies. So I feel like the relationship we have currently with food is very damaging because it's precisely like taking us further away from what it used to be to eat. And food is a very complicated one because at the end of the day, it's something that is very essential to us. So how do we bring that back to like the more natural way of doing it, the seasonals that we actually have rather than wanting to, I don't know, eat an avocado in winter, you know, like these sort of things that do happen all over the world, and obviously that they are interconnected by the food system to how like most of the time global south countries ship to global north countries and all the dynamics that are around the consumption of food as well. So yeah, I think that it's very much like it could be a personal decision to kind of rethink your relationship with food, and then from like kind of take it from there and try to understand what is good for me. I remember this phrase that someone said to me once, that what is good for you when it comes to food tends to be good for the planet. So I think that's a very easy way of kind of thinking about it.
Definitely. Thank you. This is super relevant, and it's also like makes me reflect a lot on not only the way we consume and how we consume and from where are we consuming, what's the story behind what we're eating, what we're actually feeding our body, and what's the impact of that in the planet. Also, maybe even giving it a try to, not everyone has the privilege of having soil or land to actually plant some food actually and see it grow, and actually that can reestablish a more healthy relationship with what you're eating. I think knowing where your food is coming from and how you need to handle it, it also gives you a little bit more consciousness of how much are we consuming, do we really need this kind of food, and the story behind that and the impact that it's leaving, right? So thank you for that reflection, Carmen. I would like to explore a little bit more of your experience with the fellowship, and ask you how did the project you worked on challenge you, or expanded your creative practices in your activism, and maybe if it does relate to the topic that we were discussing today. So basically, how this challenged you or expanded your artistic or creative practices. You want to start, Rosaline?
Yeah, sure. So when we were making selections for which group one wanted to volunteer, I was there like, I've done photography, and I was looking for something that I had not done before. So I said, let me join the video installation group because, yeah, I want to learn. And I think maybe, I don't know what other people are doing in this group, so let me go there. And it turns out I'm in that group and I had zero editing skills, but I think with the help of my group members, I have been able to come up with something. I learned a lot of softwares that we can use to make art and also like editing skills, and just learning that it can be as simple as just crafting your work and knowing what you want to bring out in your message, then everything will just fall into place. So yeah, I have come out with editing skills, and I think now I have something that I can back up onto my writing.
Thank you. I'm really happy that you actually encouraged to or took the challenge of encouraging something new in a new practice. So awesome. Naila?
Okay, so to myself, because we have like different parts in our group project, but for myself, I made some paintings. It was kind of difficult. I made like 12 different drafts before getting something that I wanted to really make. Why? Because I think that it's something that I learned during the fellowship, that I don't know, you can take, because my art was about protecting the Amazon. There was a Congress law that affected the Amazon, so I wanted to portray how there was no previous ask for the communities in there, and how that was affecting the ecosystem. So I wanted to make something that was really meaningful, but as well that, I mean, it's a huge responsibility to portray these stories. So I really wanted to make something that is not like, that I don't take the story from them, but that I try to accompany, I don't know, I'm not sure how to say this. But yeah, and then how to mix these perspectives that I wanted to portray as well with the overall theme of our group. So yeah, I as well push myself to make much research, because I didn't want it to be just like a very simple thing that I say, oh, we have to protect the communities. We all know that, but what's behind this, right? So I was making a lot of research on what species are being more endemic in the Amazon, which communities are being more affected, and yeah, about as well the cosmovision. So yeah, I think on that side, it kind of pushed me to try to make something meaningful. So yeah.
Thank you, Naila. Maybe Rachel, how this challenge your creative practice?
Yeah, kind of similarly to what Nyla was saying, it definitely pushed me to find new areas of meaning, or almost more new areas of effectiveness, which is something I hadn't really thought of my art as before. It hadn't really had to function as like a tool or as this awareness mechanism as it was now. So I was thinking a lot more about reaching people and about an audience, and also, as Nyla was saying, and as we talked about it earlier, kind of having to build that into a group that included all of our voices, and that we could build together, but that none of us were actually together and that we were building all of our components separately and just had to believe that they were gonna work together. But I do think the fact that me and Nyla were able to be there in New York and set it up ourselves and see everything made a huge difference in actually being able to understand how everything worked together, and especially with the other art included in the show that wasn't part of the fellows, because we did get pretty familiar with each other's work throughout all of the workshops and everything, but there is things at the, if you didn't know, there's work at the exhibition that is outside of just our group of fellows. So to everyone who's watching, if you can in New York, go out to see the exhibition 38 Washington Street. It's pretty amazing.
You. Great. Mujawase, how does challenge you?
I would say it mostly introduced me to new ways of storytelling. I would say it challenged me with those unfamiliar like styles, different styles. I remember particularly this session that stuck with me. I guess the facilitator showed us different videos, different perspectives and ways of telling stories. And I think that inspired me a lot. So during our project, I challenged myself to come up with something different that I hadn't done before, which was, I guess, finding a way. I did like an animation, small video, and I would say that challenged me, but I also learned from it a lot. Yeah, and again, like I was very, very inspired of ways of storytelling that touch people's hearts and inspire action. So from now on, I'll be researching and like learning from different creatives and artists, watching their videos to be inspired. Yeah.
Thank you. Celio, you want to, are you here with us?
Yes, I am.
Awesome. Sorry that you have this connectivity issue, but we were exploring, going back a little bit to our projects, exploring how this project challenged you or expanded your artistic or creative practices in your activism. And yeah.
Yeah, this project has expanded my artistic experience hugely. I'm an artistic person. I love art. I love creating things, but I've always done it for me or for my friends, and I've never used it for my activism. And this project has been amazing because I had the opportunity to work with other people who are super talented. And also I had the opportunity to meet Josephine, and she's amazing. And I also got to contribute to the creation of the film, like working with Bea and Laura and Sophia, and creating like what was our vision, envisioning it, doing the interview. It was my first formal experience working on a project like this. But I love it, and I definitely want to do it more.
Thank you so much, Celio. Really glad that this inspired you to continue. Rosaline, I think you're already sure.
I already gave my experience. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah. Okay. So thank you so much. Thank you so much for sharing with us today this really, really interesting and very deep project topic, sorry. Of course, after reflecting on these questions, it's very clear that our consumption habits have a lot of impact in the environment and in climate change. Food systems, in particular, they of course play a crucial role in this crisis, and it's very important for us to delve into these practices. I have like some notes here of what we have discussed today, and a lot of words came up, such as sustainability. Where are we going to be? This intrigue of where are we going to be in the future if this is not sustainable. And we need to really find sustainable practices that are stop contributing to the environmental degradation. So it's very important for you to please keep up the great work in creating creative and artistic expressions and using it as a powerful tool to raise awareness, to promote sustainable behaviors, to actually inspire decision makers, as we discussed today, and to really find innovative solutions as the one Muisawase shared, and to actually advocate for changes in our consumption habits, in our culture, and hopefully all these can add to build a more sustainable future. And if we act in time, and acting in time means now, well, maybe we can actually have an effect from the particular and from the and as a whole. So thank you so much for participating. Thank you so much for your time, for your projects, for your dedication, and for inspiring me, the people who are watching this now, and all the mentors that we're able to actually share with you. All of them were truly inspired. So thank you so much, and hope to see you soon. Thank you. I don't know if you have something else to say, to share, before we say goodbye.
Just to thank you, Alvaro, for your continued support, Human Impacts Institute, for this amazing opportunity. It was great meeting everyone on this fellowship. I learned a lot from you, and I hope we can keep in touch with some of the fellows. Yes.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Ms. Owase. Well, thank you very much. I see some hearts, which is great. Thank you for all the commitment and the love that you put in to your projects and into this fellowship. Thank you so much, and see you on our next session, which is going to be on next Tuesday, where we're going to be exploring a very, very interesting topic on collaboration, specifically how is the challenges and the opportunities about collaborating across cultures. This is going to be mainly in French, and we really, really encourage you to continue assisting to these sessions. So thank you so much, and see you soon.